Hello fellow dragons, it's Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming and it's review time. Today's lucky contender is Creature in the Well, which is basically a roguelike attacking game with pinball elements is the best way to describe it. It was released on September 7th in the great old Aussie land. It is produced and developed published and developed by Flight School Studio. Came out for 1935 Australian bucks, and it is currently out on the PC on Steam and Microsoft Windows, as well as Xbox One and the Switch. So let's get a look in on this game. The first thing that you get dumped in is the home screen, which is kind of interesting that the home screen is also the menu screen as well. You don't notice that until you touch your controls and suddenly go walking around and going, oh, I control my character as my cursor, and you get 3 different save files that you can choose from, which I found really intriguing because I thought when I looked at it first off the bat, thank you very much phone, that it was just, oh yeah, I have to wait for the screen to load. After a couple of minutes, it finally dawned on me that, oh, I've got to do this. So the graphics on this is really quite smooth and slick. Like, okay, it's not eye-watering, beautiful candy kind of design, but at the same time, the simplicity and the simple cell shading and just the bold color choice in general is really intriguing. And the animation of the little bot creature that you play as is really good. And I love how at the starting sequence when he's trying to walk and then he sort of shakes his leg to reset his ankle and then he starts walking properly again. It's a really good and well done design. I enjoyed a whole lot of it, and it's just a really intriguing sort of post-apocalyptic sort of design, but at the same time very colourful and very vivid. The actual temple, mountain, well, facility, whatever you want to call it, is really good as well because it's broken up into different sections, and each of these sections have their own design, their own sort of colour palette, and their own sort of unique look that defines what it is. And it also has all specific puzzles that are contained with those particular points, even though those puzzles will stack over time. But I really do like this game a lot. There is a few things that I could say I'm not happy with, but that's more down in the gameplay section, and it'll be more something I'll discuss in a few minutes. But yeah, pretty wise, this game is out of the park. It is extraordinarily pretty, and for an indie development title, again, one of those games that really shows what you can do for something so simple and minimal. And I think the AAA titles are starting to lose their gravity nowadays, because even with Gears 5 and a whole lot of other games that are coming out in the next few years, the AAA titles are not getting as much sort of look in as the indie titles. Like, I see a lot of reviewers nowadays that review a lot more indie titles than they will touch normal sort of full price titles. And considering that an indie title will cost you anywhere in the realm of between $30 to $2, I'm sorry, indie titles make more sense when it comes to games, because we've all seen the pretty graphics, we've all seen that, but Hellblade for one. Hellblade was created on a very similar and small budget, came out as a fairly pricey title, but at the same time, it produced something extraordinary for what you got. And that is what indie titles always provide, and that's probably why I like the graphics of the lower budget games more than the AAA titles every time. Anyway, we'll have a listen to the music and sound, and I will get back to you in half a second. is basically a sort of beat 'em techno sort of synth remix that is really in your face, and it's constantly sort of battling, but it's not overpowering the situation. And if anything, they've chosen the design and everything quite well to actually match the situation. And the tenseness and the intensity of what you need to do while you're playing this game is really prominent and very high on the list. And I'm really enjoying just that internal sort of struggle and feel the music as you're moving through. And even when the music is just being ambient and it's just there for background thing, it's really nice and simple. And you know, music doesn't have to be ground shattering just to be fantastic. It can also be so simple it's just there. Like Stardew Valley was a good example of that, where it was a good game that provided a lot of good stuff with its music and whatnot, and it didn't even put as much effort into the music in general. Sound wise, you're supposed to be in a pinball machine, and it sounds very much like a pinball machine at times when you're knocking the energy balls around and it just pings off things and it bumps into a bumper and comes flying back at you or whatnot, or comes flying back at lightning speed, so it has another sort of flaming rift sound to go with it. The swishing of swords and other weapons and everything is all very interesting. The frying pan, I delight immensely in just the sound of it. It really is quite a good sound, and I just like that. There's no voice in this, it's basically just all text on a screen, but at the same time there's a very big story here, and it's really intriguing. That, yeah, I got into the story a lot more than I would normal, and I'll get to that in a minute. So now we'll talk about the gameplay. Gameplay, you can play on keyboard or controller. Both work exceptionally well. It's very good. I found with myself, like, I'm 43 and my hands were starting to tense up with the amount of sort of stress and strain of trying to play it, but it's more the intensity. But I do agree with another reviewer from Get Indie Gaming who has difficulty with his hands, and it would be nice that a lot of these titles, and I think it's something that is coming up more and more, that these titles need to have a more accessibility sort of thing for the people that are beyond the full-time gamers and whatnot. Because I do actually see some gamers online that are in their 30s and whatnot who are wearing braces around their hands, that they play games so intensely that they need something to alleviate their hands while they're doing it. And that's the only thing I've ever seen in hard labour, like in upholstery and automotive, or even in office works where you're doing stuff that creates carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that. But I'm starting to see that on players. So I think developers need to start to understand that sometimes when you want to play a game, you want to play a game, and sometimes when you want to give yourself a challenge, it should be there as an option, not as a default sort of structure. But you know, I don't make the games, I don't develop the games, I just review them and say how I like them. I do like this game, and I love just the general sort of puzzle makeup and trying to hit the right bumpers in the right time, making timing or getting the right ones in the right order and stuff like that. It's all fun and games in this one, and it's really enjoyable. And the weapons set up, as you change them to, one will gain you more energy, one will give you more accuracy, another one will split the balls into other things. It's a gatherer and as a striker sort of system, as you're gathering the balls and then you're striking them out, and you're doing these two things in a simultaneous sort of loop, and it really gives this game a great sort of vibe and enjoyment level, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of it in its entirety. Story-wise, you play as a bot that wakes up in a sandy desert in the middle of a sandstorm, and you make your way towards this cave, because anywhere else you get lost in the desert. And as you make it towards this cave, you enter into this kind of facility where you are using a iron pipe at the beginning to try and hit the ball, any energy balls into the bumpers and whatnot, to gain more and more energy so you can access each progressive door. and yeah, it's a great design. And as you progress through the story, you meet up with this creature that lives within the actual temple itself, and it is hell-bent on trying to stop you. In fact, in order to finish each section of the game, you need to go through a mini battle each time with this particular boss, which is basically the creature in the well, which all you see at the beginning is these humongous hands and these dark gleaming these bright gleaming eyes from the darkness that has an unmitigating sort of hatred for your existence. But what you eventually learn is that it's a weather station to try and stop the weather, the sandstorm, from destroying the world, and apparently it's been happening for centuries. So that's the basic idea of the story. I won't finish the end all of it and give you the little lore sections. I did like the lore in this. It's really quite good and enjoyable. And overall, it's a lot of great sort of things. So, there are pros and cons to every game, and here are a few of them on screen at the moment. Now, for people that like Souls games or roguelike games, this is a must-buy. It's an enjoyable game, it's really simple, and it has a nice edge of difficulty to it. That being said, I say that some casual gamers will be put off by this game because it just doesn't have the ability to sort of just enjoy the story or learn about the game. And I think some of the levels get this kind of artificial sort of difficulty at times, and it makes it much harder to complete it unless you experiment and learn how to use the weapons, or use the right weapons, or even just find the right secrets to find the right weapons to do other bits and pieces, because that's a big thing in this game. Roughly it's about 5 to 8 hours of gameplay depending on who you are. I'm up to the 6-hour mark and I'm on the last boss and just trying to beat him, so I'm just doing runs on trying to beat him. But yeah, there's lots of hidden mysteries, there's lots of lore in it, and the game mechanics is really good. Like, I really like playing it on the controller, and I really like playing it on the keyboard. Both were really good, and I'd say looking at it on the Switch would be a godsend, and it'd be just this one of the new titles for the new portable Switch, which has no sort of dock feature or whatever. So anyway, thank you very much for listening to my rambles. I hope you found some inspiration and understanding about what this game's about and whether you like to buy it or not. The links is down in the description if you want to get it on PC. Also down there is my subscription button, so please subscribe if you enjoyed the video or you found any content useful in some way, shape or form. Hitting the like button also helps, and if you want to stay notified about me, hit the bell icon and make sure you're notified by my new videos. Other than that, I'm Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming. We will bring you a new video sometime this week for a new game, possibly Greedfall. It depends how long it takes me to finish. But yeah, other than that, see you in the next video. Bye for now.